latest fight action, direct from Wales in the United Kingdom, 100% live, it's Big Fight Weekly, with your hosts Chris Hume and Stu Palmer.
I look into the mirror and all I see is failure staring back at me. I hope the light gets clearer, but when you got that voice inside your head saying, it gets worse if nothing's said.
And welcome to a special edition of Big Fight Weekly, or episode 59. So we're making our way to 100, slowly but surely, but we're getting there. My guest today is the legendary man, the myth, the legend. He's been on the show a couple of times, but this time I finally got him to squeeze me in his busy schedule, as he once told me a few months ago. Ladies and gentlemen, the master is Don Mcguire. How are you?
I'm doing good, mate. If I could get my voice back, I'd be doing 100% better. But as you know, I'm dealing with a little bit of paralysis in my throat, but the show must go on. Life's not going to stop for anybody, and it's delightful to be on the show and be able to share who I am with the United Kingdom, because I treasure all the people over the pond. A lot of people don't realize that the biggest part of my career was over in the United Kingdom, in boxing and other aspects. But the UK has always treated me quite well, so it's an honor to be on your show.
Well, it's an honor to have you on, to be honest with you. We speak every day, and we both laughed about this before coming on. Like, what are we actually going to talk about? Because we have opened up to each other, and we're not talking an hour conversation. We're talking about 3-hour conversations. Mostly every day. So it's quite a contrast of what can we bring to the table, considering we both already know each other very well. But I feel like for the audience of the UK who do tune into Big Fight Weekly, I feel like this could be a nice opportunity for people who don't know you, to get to know you and understand the guy that walks in his shoes, and the ups and downs you've had, the career highlights you've had. And I feel like that's a major part of the appeal to people when they see you, because probably not just what you've done, but the inspiration you bring to other people and the help you give other people. Like, obviously me, for example, you've helped me tenfold from a guy probably 6 months 6 months ago probably wouldn't entertain an interview. You jumped into my life, and then within a month or so I'm interviewing Linton Vassell, where, like I say, if you asked me 6 months ago, I'd have shot you down immediately. So, you are an inspiration, and you push people, and you push them in a good way, and you help develop. And that's what I cherish and, admire from you completely. Yeah. But let's not talk about myself, because I think everybody's known enough about me on Big Fight Weekly, Don. I want you to put your walking shoes on, pal, and I want you to walk me through you becoming a photographer, and what galvanized you to become a photographer, and was it something you wanted to do growing up and move into the combat sports world and see all these amazing things, take photos of these amazing things? Was that something that you looked for as a child growing up, or was that something you just fell into?
Actually, I'm transparent. To be quite honest with you, it was something that I just fell into. I had a cousin and one of his friends that were getting ready to do a smoker, and they're the guy that usually takes pictures for their events, their little smoker things. He didn't show up. They handed me the camera and they asked me would I shoot it. So I shot it. I didn't think nothing of it. First time I ever had a camera in my hand. And it was probably about 2-3 weeks later, I got a phone call from a boxing promoter and said, would you like to shoot a fight for us? And I told him, well, actually, no. I said, because I don't know how to do this. He said, well, we're going to teach you now, mate, and we're going to have you shoot for us. And I was like really optimistic. And then I thought about it for a minute, and I got really, really scared. I was like, what the hell am I even thinking? It's like, I've never done this before. And then at the grand scale that they wanted me to come in at was at the top. And it was something that really was frightening for me. Just think about it. You go back to 1990, to the Crystal Palace in the UK. I shot for main events fight. I shot Lennox Lewis versus the Frenchman Jean Genet, and had never shot a world title fight before, especially for the EBU. And being in front of overseas, a lot of people don't understand. The sport is much larger back, especially back in those days. The crowds were immense, and the excitement, the roar, and everything. It was a tremendous feeling. I'd never felt that before. It was quite a exhilarating experience, and the people of London treated me really, really well. For my first time really doing a major event overseas, it was different because I wasn't used to the culture. I wasn't used to the language barrier, and people say, well, we speak English. We're in the UK, but there's dialects, there's different pronunciations. You and I go through that on the daily on our side. But the thing of it is the people of the United Kingdom were so gracious and so hospitable towards me that I fell in love with the people of the UK. And it was a monumental moment for me. And I understand when people say when hate comes, because it's like after that event, I didn't get shot back down to the, B and C circuits like a lot of people do. I actually got bigger opportunities, and they just kept coming, and I was overwhelmed because you remember, I'm a man that never had shot in the sport, never thought about the sport, never held a camera in my hand. And, here I am rubbing elbows with some of the greatest world champions in the sport. And you saw it recently when I was with Bill Clancy. I did an interview with Bill Clancy and Jack Reese, and then prior to that, I did a one-on-one with Bill Clancy. These are gentlemen that I hold near and dear to my heart, especially Mills Lane and a lot of others. And that's the part of the sport that just makes me thrive, because a lot of people want to give the fighters, they want to give other aspects of the sport the credit, but it's truly the best way to say it is the mechanism, the referee, the cutman, the photographers, the matchmakers. I'm not going to stick up for any judges, because judges screw up a lot of fights. And that's why they say don't ever let it go to the judge, because that's your fault if you get a bad decision. But I instantly fell in love with the sport, and I fell in love with the people of the United Kingdom. And it was quite evident, because we'll get to that in a minute. I'm sure you're going to ask me about my other relationships and correlations in the UK. But it's great to have this opportunity to finally share with not only the people of Wales, but the whole United Kingdom, how much I truly appreciate them giving me one of my first opportunities to become successful in this sport we all love.
Yeah, well, you know what? Listening to that, and not knowing what how to sort of take a picture in fights, and being a photographer, and you're thrusted into like a big pool, really, aren't you? This sort of picture up dropped you off, and you're like, you go and let's see what you can do. But obviously there was something there, because it clicked for you, and literally, no pun there, it literally did click for you. You found a way, and as you said, you didn't get dropped back down to the lower leagues. You were just constantly pushed on and pushed on.
Yeah.
It must have been exciting, really. Especially yourself. Didn't you say Crystal Palace, East London, and yeah, I'd imagine for someone like you, the Cockney accent, especially in East London, which is it's hard myself to understand them. So that must have been a right head scratcher for you. It's not like you can pick your phone up and go, what did he say? And put it to them.
Yeah, it was, mate. I'll be honest with you. I didn't understand half of what anybody was saying to me. Thank God I did have a security with me who kind of correlated things for me and made me, help me understand that what was being said to me. Because even though we both speak English, like I said, there's multiple dialects to the English language. Even from Wales to the United Kingdom to Liverpool to, other places that it changes. You look at Meatball Molly when she talks about herself, she says me. When over here we would say I. And I think it's just a beautiful thing though when you can, just bring the world together and have no hate, just all love. And one thing I gotta say, man, it was quite a humbling experience to see how many people over there over the pond turn out for an event such of this caliber. And it's like you go back, and boxing's been around a long time, but it was monumental. And what I took away from that experience was a feeling that I had to get more. I walked away from a six-figure job
Hmm.
to do this. And a lot of people would say, why in the hell would you do that? But my one day my wife said, you love this, go live your dream. And she gave up her dream so I can live mine. And I'm very grateful that she did, because not only did I get to live a dream, but I got to create relationships around the world. I got to meet the greatest fighters to ever step in a ring, a cage, or on a mat. I got to create some of the greatest brotherhoods in the world. And I tell you what, to sit back and have Sugar Ray Leonard call you just out of the blue and say, I want you to interview me, face to face, but I want to spend the weekend with you and your family. It's quite humbling, man.
Because yeah, I can't say I've reached anything like that. So, I probably end up shitting me pants personally. You know what I mean? If I've got someone like that, if his stature, asking to spend it like a day or a few days with my family. Actually, I don't actually swear. I only want to actually spend a day with my family to turn them inside out personally. But got a comment here, Don, from Lewis Young, and he's from Scotland. Is our mate Lewis Young here, and he's asking how we all are, and I'm assuming we're all good, Don.
Mate, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing, brother? Mate, appreciate you chiming in. And I love the UK, man. It's just like people need to understand that it's all one love, man. It is. It's truly one love. You give me a bad time about me telling you I got to squeeze you in, but it's ironic. I don't let very many people into my life. I don't do very many interviews because, you know, in this sport, there's a lot of hate. And people, it's not necessarily that the people hate you, it's they hate the opportunities that you've been given because they haven't gotten it. But I mean, here we are 37, 37 years, maybe a little bit over into my career in sports. And I've truly earned every opportunity. But do I stay humble? Yeah. That's what's kept me there, mate. Staying who I am and not going out with a swollen head has garnered me some of the greatest opportunities in my life.
Yeah, but you've always said to me, always stay yourself. But
Yeah.
I've always been brought up on that way. It's never to be fake or be two faced. It's remain who you are. And I'm pretty much like yourself. I don't speak to many people. I do isolate myself. I have a group of people I speak to, yes, but like you, I like my circle. I don't like many people joining a circle because not everyone gets me, or probably the same for you. Don't get you. I say things that many people, and from the multiple conversations that we've had for the last couple of months, that not many people probably would like what I say because I'm quite upfront, and again, you are as well. We
Yeah.
say things I think most people probably cringe at because, like, oh my god, you've just said that. Do you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
why I think we're very alike in our mannerisms. That we can throw jokes out at each other and we can
Yeah.
take out of each other, but it's all, as we would say, banter, and it's a laugh, and that's
Yeah.
why I enjoy your company and I enjoy everything. All the conversations that we have.
Well, I do too. And I'll touch a little bit on that. I shared the story with you of me and my brother, and it's totally off topic. It's me and my brother from the Foo Fighters, a founding member of the Foo Fighters in the music industry. You know, he can't even take a piss without somebody wanting to take a selfie with him while he's going to the bathroom. He can't have dinner, uh, while he's, ever just, they just want to disturb you. You don't get your peace. And So when I went in this sport, I always said I didn't want to be famous. I didn't want to be famous, and I still don't want to be famous to this day. I never made my career about me, and I humility is the greatest thing of all. Humility, I think kept me here. I have to fall every day to remain humble. And, I'm not going to get big headed about the opportunities that I've been given because what? It could be gone tomorrow. So I value every day. But the thing of it is, I am black and white. If you don't want to know the truth, don't ask me because I'm going to be very blunt and very brutal. And a lot of people take it wrong, but it shouldn't be taken in that context. I'm just a man, and I'm an old man. I'm nearing 60, and I've been through a lot of adversity in my life, and it's created me. But I've also realized that in order to become what I need to be, that I have to isolate myself. I'm quite introverted, and people say, "Well, how can you be so introverted, but work in a sport-related industry?" Well, it keeps me even keel. On the weekends, I go and I get to, see all my brothers and get to have some of the greatest opportunities to see some of the greatest fights in the world. But when it's said and done, I just want to be alone with my family, with my wife and my son and my dot. You call it a circle, but I call it a dot. My grandfather taught me if you have more people in your life than 10, then you have too many friends. And I've always led my life that way. And it's done me well in my heart and in my mind.
I have to say a circle, Don, because as you can hear in the background, the annoying bastard dog bark. I have to call it a circle because as you know, in my house, it's not just three children and me and Alison. It's three dogs and lizards and tortoises and guinea pigs, and I have to involve them in this. You can't fit them in in my house. But I understand what you're coming from, and I wholeheartedly understand where you're coming from. But I feel like that's why we get on so well. It's as you say, obviously you're a lot older than me, but age doesn't matter. I think, and in
No.
personalities, we click very quickly because we're very similar in the ways that we do and the way we talk and we laugh. We share the same jokes pretty much. Obviously, you say it the American way and I say it the English way, and again that causes a lot of jokes in between that. You say biscuit, I say, no, that's not a biscuit. You say cookie, no, that's not. That's different. Um, you know, but we get on so well, and this is why I had to get you on, is because obviously I want you to tell the story of yourself, but I like to people to, well, for us to share our friendship, considering we've known each other just over 2 months, and it's been like and then this is no arse kissing because I'm not an arse kisser, but it's been like I've known you. Like I'm 36, but like I've known you forever. Like you've always been in my life, just because of the way we are with each other. But that's a testament to who you are.
Well, you're the same age as my son, but in reality, a lot of the people that I have to deal with in this industry now are your age, and it's weird because the cycle from the beginning when I walked into this industry, it was, kind of mob oriented, and then it went to the perception of women were running this sport for a long time. And a lot of people don't want to give the women the credit, but I mean, when I dealt with getting opportunities for fights and things of this nature, I had to deal with a lot of women. And even when I managed fighters myself, I had to deal with women. It was quite the drastic change. And now it's a 50-50 mixture. But the thing of it is the sport is constantly evolving. And it's tremendous to see certain aspects really grow in this sport. And I like correlating with the younger part of the sport because if we don't share our knowledge and if we don't give some of these younger gents the respect, or the ladies the respect that they deserve, then why was I really here? My whole purpose was to create a future and continue to create a future. I teach people how to do podcasts because I have a worldwide syndicated radio show and a podcast. And when help people program their cameras, and people always say, "Why do you do that? They're going to be better than you. They're going to be better than you." First and foremost, a lot of people need to understand. I came from a 35 millimeter era, and when they went to digital, it was an even playing field. But in some aspects it wasn't, because you had these people that were in college that were learning digital photography as it was breaking ground. And so I not only had to learn, but I also had to figure out how to be a step above those young men and women coming out of college. And I had to learn what it would take for me to remain on top. And in doing so, I had to redefine myself. I had to recreate myself. And it was hard. Here I am, halfway through my career, and all of a sudden they change the format and how we shoot. And, if it wasn't for Bon Cacho and Lenny Krusik, two of my mentors, I don't think I would even exist in this sport today. Dana White called me one of the top 5 photographers in the world. Do I agree with him? No. And people say, Don, you're too humble. But no, as long as my mentors are on this earth, I will never be in the top 5. See, that's one thing. I don't forget where I came from. And I will always pay honor and privilege to those who created me. And I'm not one of them that's going to tell you something that is going to make your head swell. I don't like people like that, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let somebody take away credit from 2 individuals that are still here, that can just blaze my ass if we shot a fight together. They would put me to shame. So, I mean, Dana, I appreciate the comment, homie, but until my mentors are gone, I will never be I will never be in the top 5.
Nate Renner,
Yeah.
you could obviously see it yourself, the most blunt guy I know. Or one of the many things they really admire about you, Don. So obviously, there's a lot of people out there who, like myself, get the way you are. Like,
I love hold up a second. I love Nate Wren, a tremendous young boxer, journalist, photographer. I mean, he is just such a tremendous young man. He just did a 24-hour run. I believe it was for cancer. See, the world wants to create all this hate. They want to create all this animosity. But Nate Wren's another young gentleman that I've allowed in my life. He's true, and he gives back so much. That's what I love about the people that I correlate with myself, because they give so much to the sport. I mean, people don't even realize, and I never talk about this, and people can take it however the fuck they want, pardon my French, but I give back 85% of what I make in the sport, and I have for years. I take just enough to feed my family, put a roof over my head, and take care of my bills. But if you look at the IFL with John Frank and other organizations that theoretically, because of the way they're designed, they can't pay for these kids to go to fights. They can't. So, like, I just did a deal with NFTs. I'm giving 20% of my 50% cut to the youth fighters in the IFL. And people say, why would you do something like that? Well, the sport has given me, 37 beautiful years and memories that I can never replace, man. And so as long as I can give back and correlate and create the future and allow the future to continue, I'm going to do that every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
That's I couldn't get my words out. That's like that's the biggest respect you can give back, and so humbling, that you're looking out for everybody else, but as you say, you're giving back to what give you the first start of your break. So
Yeah.
for doing that, because a lot of people probably wouldn't even do what you're doing and giving back to people. And obviously, you speak about Nate Wren then.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of people out there that that have taken a lot out of sport and then give back to their community, or the surrounding area where they may live, because obviously it might not be where they were originally from. But that's a lot of respect and admiration of doing something like that. Maybe one day I could do the same for my little small town in North Wales here in North Wales, obviously. But yeah, hats off to you. And Nate Wren, as you say, a 24-hour run. I barely can do a 2-second run to the toilet these days. So hats off to you, Nate.
Yeah, Nate's a man that I just truly admire.
He's asking me.
Oh man, don't even go there, man. Don't.
Really important.
It's an inside joke, man. I'll tell the story. There was a cop in Oklahoma. I was down there for, I think, Bellator, and me and a couple fighters, we left the gas station, and I immediately got pulled over, and the cop grabbed a hold of my arm and was going like this, and he was queering off on me, and it was just, and then he told me I looked like Billy Bob Thornton, and it was just disgusting, mate. And then, so it's like, I told Nate the story, so now he always gives me crap about it. I don't share that story very much, but, you
You've
know,
never had.
I, oh, bro, it was like, this was like a day before weigh-in, so the whole weekend I just got blasted, for this cop just queering off on me. But it's funny. You just got to live to take those types of punishments when you get them. The thing of it is like Nate can get away with calling me Billy Bob Thornton just like you give me crap, and I just like, and I'm no different than anybody else, man. I'm just a man that has such tremendous compassion for people, just like Lexi Walton, over there in Wales. She's a young lad that I just fell in love with like 3 or 4 years ago because I seen the ability in her. And you heard the story, even with other fighters. I I reach out to those types of individuals and I help them get sponsorships. I help them do a lot of things because I see the greatness in them. I see where they want to be. I would rather have a child wanting to be in the gym than be on the street corner doing drugs or getting into mischief and things of this nature. So if I can get a kid off the street, mate, I'm going to get the kid off the street. I mean, even if I have to take money out of my own pocket and find a way, I mean, it's all about, creating a better place. A lot of people want to get mad and, tear down society and things that are going on. Unless the entire world's going to stand up, just take care of what's in front of your face and make a difference and change things to the best of your ability and stop worrying about what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, it's a lot harder, isn't it? I mean, probably myself and you can think like that and be like that, but a lot of people do, and especially in this generation, they do worry about what other people think and what other people do. You only have to look at likes of Instagram. You know what I mean? How many people can you say that if you're on a busy street yeah, by a bus stop, even perhaps, for example,
Yeah,
how many people would be scrolling down and all you'd have to look at the phone is they'd be looking at phonies on Instagram, in a nice hot
yeah,
place in a big mansion. That's this generation. I mean, me personally, I couldn't give two shits what people think.
yeah.
I look like yourself. I'm very black and white, but I again, it is this generation. Maybe one day they'll wake up. Who knows? Right, let's sideswipe all that now because that's what that is. Let's go back to you and let's talk about your favorite moments from any of the sports that you've taken photos for, any of the organizations that you've been a part of. Take me back to something that that you instantly, when you think of picking up your camera, you instantly get the image in the back of your head, like, oh yeah, I remember that was amazing. Do you have that when you pick a camera up, that automatically a fight or a situation in all the years you've been in this sport comes to mind immediately?
Yeah, it would be UFC 3, 1994 at the Grady Cole Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Mitchell versus Shamrock. And I think the headliner on that card was Howard versus Jenham, I believe. That was my first opportunity, the UFC, and it was crazy, man. Because I had left boxing, I went to Pride and Glory, and I did no holds barred, a few of those events in between. That's where I met my brother Paul, the Polar Bear of Ireland's. And so to be able to get my opportunity, which was a tremendous moment because the UFC almost got squashed. When the UFC, the Fertitta brothers, weren't originally going to buy it because their father was against it, and the brothers went ahead and did it anyway. And Dana White, before this time was a bag boy for Mayweather, and he was in the sport of boxing. But a lot of people also don't know that Dana White also fell in love with jujitsu and became a jujitsu practitioner, and ultimately, I believe he's a black belt. But to watch the people that he bought it from, the Fertitas, when they bought it, the other people took all the rights, took all the videos, took everything. And so he basically had to go door to door, pounding and pounding and pounding, for people to give him opportunities. And they finally started to. They were slow, but they finally came around. And I know the world's probably going to hate me for saying this, but I can't take away credit from a man that deserves the credit. If it wasn't for Donald Trump, the UFC would have never been on pay-per-view. Donald Trump gave Dana White his first opportunity to throw a pay-per-view, and hence the UFC was finally growing, and taking off, and it was the first true opportunity. And I believe if it wasn't for Donald Trump, the UFC wouldn't be here today.
Wow, I can't really say much because obviously we have our own issues, foreign
Well, I mean,
affairs.
political issues, take the political issues out of it. And because Donald Trump wasn't even a politician then, but you look at Herschel Walker, you look at all these other individuals that this man clings to. I mean, is Donald Trump the greatest man to look up as a role model? No. But facts are facts, bro. Like I said, I'm black and white. He gave Dana White and the UFC their first opportunity on pay-per-view when everybody else shut the door. And I mean, it took him, I can't even tell you how many times bugging Donald Trump just to give him that opportunity. See, a lot of people hate Dana White, but Dana White is probably one of the most compassionate, heartfelt men in the world. And people are going, but really to run an organization of that magnitude, you have to be a dick. I mean, you do. I mean, I know what my career is like, and I'm nowhere. I'm an eighth of what Dana White means to the sport. They don't know how many thousands of doors that man knocked on, and how many people he bugged and gave his card time and time again, just so this sport could take off, just so he could prove to the Fertitas that this was something that needed to be. I
Hmm.
mean, so take it with a grain of salt how you want. I mean, I'm just speaking factual. Go back and look, and you'll see that without Donald Trump giving him the opportunity, the UFC might have still existed and grown from there, but he gave them their first shot, bro. And so I'm not going to take credit away from somebody that deserves it.
Well, in that case, I mean, if people really want to find the history of UFC, I'm sure that like their documentary they did a few years ago is banging around on YouTube, and all
Yeah.
that, you've pretty much just said then is in the documentary. The 20 years of UFC, it's all in there, so I'm sure you can find that. So I'm sure that's on YouTube. I've obviously been. It was hard for us in the UK in regards to MMA in anything really. I think it took a long time for it to get over here. And when it did come over here, it was on a channel called Bravo. I don't know if you lot over there still have that channel, but
Yeah.
that's like long gone over here now. But it was always pre-recorded. Those are the days before the internet ruined everything. So it was always exciting. And I remember watching Chuck and Tito for the first time, and that was the first fight I ever watched, and mesmerized of what is this, and why haven't I seen it before? Most people back in those days, it'd be your national sports, so your football, your soccer, your baseball, your cricket, rugby, yeah, and it goes on your wrestling, and then this starts getting on national TV and or certain channels that are on a subscription base, and
Yeah.
everyone it exploded because everyone was like, "What is it? What is this? I've never seen it before." We knew boxing, but we didn't see martial arts like this before. And obviously, where you guys in America, you already had the taste of UFC as well as probably Pride at that time. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a revelation for me because I was astonished. I was only used to watching Stone Cold and The Rock pretend to fight in a ring. You know, yes, and of course I knew what boxing was and I watched boxing, but I was never a die-hard fan. I watched certain fighters, yes, but UFC is what changed my path because then I fell in love with mixed martial arts, and then I wanted to know ins and outs. I wanted to watch old stuff. I wanted to go back. wanted to learn the discipline, but it was obviously very hard where I live because it's such a small village. But yeah, I understand what you mean by Donald Trump. Though it does take one person in, to open that door, and
Like I don't mean to cut you off, but like I tell people, a ripple can create a wave, and that's what theoretically happened. Is Donald Trump responsible for the great magnitude of the UFC? Hell no. But did he create that beginning of the ripple? Yeah. The thing of it is, mate, it's like boxing is my passion. It's my love. It's my true heart. But Donald Trump did do a lot for boxing and combat sports. I mean, like I said, he was Mayweather's bag boy, in the early days. But he goes back further than that. He used to teach kids, how to box. And a lot of people see what they see on TV and they stereotype people. But if you crack in to the history of Dana White, what you're going to find is a man that gave to the children like we do, a man that believed in a sport like boxing and just gave everything he had, and then found a dream and pushed that dream. And I can't tell you how many thousands of people that Dana White begged to buy the UFC, but then the Fertitas actually did, and history was born.
what a history we've witnessed, because it's still at an infancy. It's still a young sport growing and forever changing. You only have to see the greats that have come and gone, and the situation with what we've got now certain fighters. Is there anything you would say that you miss from a certain era of mixed martial arts to what it is now in the present?
Yeah, humility. Humility. Um, you look at the fighters of old, and they did it because they loved it. And yeah, there was a little bit of smack talk, or shit talk, however you want to put it. But I don't like the new era. I'm not saying all the fighters are bad, but I just don't like all the shit talking, and I'm even cool with the shit talking, but you take it, and the people in the UK and Ireland, and I'm half Irish. My dad's from Dublin, so if y'all want to hate on me, you can. But
Don't think about it.
leave the families out of it. The things that he said to Dustin Poirier, uh,
Connor.
yeah, Connor, were just disgusting. And you know what? If you take your lumps and leave the cage like a man, come back to fight another day. I'm going to respect you. But Conor McGregor at UFC 194 called me a bitch. And, I think I rightfully deserve that because I told him he was the most disrespectful fighter that I've ever met in the UFC or in mixed martial arts in general. But he's a man that came off of welfare, a man that was trying to live a dream, a man that was trying to create a persona. And the real Conor McGregor really is a decent soul at that time behind the persona. But now I think he's let the persona deep into his head, and now he actually thinks and lives that way. And you know, it's something that the sport, in my opinion, doesn't need. But this new era of people that watch the sport, it's what they love. You look at people that like professional wrestling. Um, I've never been a big fan of it, but I know CM Punk, I know Bobby Lashley. I could go back to the older days with Pat Patterson, Haystack Calhoun, Andre the Giant. You know, I know all these people personally, and I've had a majority of them on my syndicated show, but it's not something that I fell in love with. Do I know Dan the Beast Severed and Shamrock, and do I know the Heart Foundation? Have we had discussions about the Dungeon? Yeah, I mean, but I stayed true to who I am. I stay true to what keeps me going. I love Muay Thai. I love boxing. I love jujitsu. I love MMA. I just I think this new era is just a tremendous refreshing era to the sport. You look at I had Ricky Simone on the other night, and what works terrific for it because this correlates well with where you're at. I asked Ricky Simone who would he like to have next, and oh yeah, we can get to that in a second. Um, but we ultimately had that show, and within the next 2, 3 days. Well, I think Jack Shore took to Twitter that night. One of them did, and then 3 days later, the fight was announced. And I'm in correlation with Coach Colin Oyama, Ricky Simone's coach, and I'm very grateful to Team Oyama. And I think it's going to be a hell of a war. And I got to commend Ricky Simone and Jack Shore both because even though Ricky Simone's the number 12th ranked fighter in the world and Jack is 15th ranked fighter in the world, they threw that out the window. They love this sport so much and they want the opportunity to face each other. It's going to be a banger, just like with Davey and Louis Smolka. I mean, see, I think a lot of people don't understand how much talent is coming out of the UK, man. You know, it's over the last few years, you look and the ability. I mean, think about it. I've been in Liam McGarry's life for a decade. I met the lad when he was still in the Isle of Jersey. Uh, you've heard him say it eloquently. I've been in his life for a full decade. It's been there since day one. And he asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I said, win the world title. And it was against a brother of mine, Emmanuel Newton. And so the UK had their first world champion, but nobody talked about it.
Hold on, I did, but not on this platform. No,
Yeah.
not this platform then. But I know I got what you mean. I celebrated. You know, I was full of admiration for the man that he just broke a duck that no British fighter before him could do it. And you don't forget we had several that went for the title, and none of them even were close really. They all got smoked. Liam McGarry, as you say, he beat Emmanuel Newton in the tournament, won that title, also defended that title, but didn't get the recognition. And I said this when I first had him on last year. And he's very coy about it. And I suppose he's past all that now. But in my mind, this is why haven't anyone picked up on it? And do you know why that is? Because it was Bellator, and at that point in time, Bellator wasn't known in the UK. People knew what UFC were. They
Yeah.
didn't know Bellator. But
Hey, mate, can you pull me out and just talk to people? I got an emergency real quick. I apologize. I'll be right back.
no problem. Yeah, I was amazed by the situations that Don just said then with Lee McGarry when he won the title. As a person from the UK, it was never published like say with Michael Bisping or the likes of Conor McGregor won the title. Everyone in the sports sort of syndicate of the UK were going mad for it. But when Lee McGarry won the title, there was nothing. There was nothing, and I don't think Bellator really helped him much in that situation where they sort of pushed him and put him out there as well as they should have done, and I could have done. Don's back.
I apologize, man. My cat was having an asthma attack, and
That's fine.
I had to give her an injection real quick.
I was just saying that that Bellator were at fault as well for not giving Lee McGarry that platform when he won the title.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Being the first UK guy to do it, that should have been a big story.
Oh, it should have. It should have been around the world, And see, the thing of it is I was probably one of the first journalists to share quite a few UK fighters. And a lot of people even asked me, they even questioned me at one time, how could you put Liam McGarry and Linton Vassell on the same show when they fought over the pond in the UK? But these are both my brothers. And I correlated with them and they were down for it. They said, hey, man, it's just a job. We're going to go in, close the door. We're going to come out. We're going to crack a beer and we're going to go have dinner together. It's just a job. And that's what I love the humility of the UK fighters, mate.
But they have to. But the thing is like they have to fight each other to get to these promotions. You only have to look at Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors are churning out really good UK fighters now. The likes of UFC and Bellator, PFL as well. Not sure for one, but they're gobbling all these guys up. And as you see now from UFC London, so much is different in the UK when it comes to fighters. If you go back, let's say Dan Hardy, for example, very good on his feet, very good boxer, very good kickboxer. But when he got taken down, like a lot of Brits back then, that was it. They couldn't get back up and they struggled. And you know what I mean? They had to get that one punch KO really to win a fight. Where you look at now, and we talk about Jack Shaw and Ricky Simone. Jack Shaw's a complete fighter. He doesn't matter. He doesn't bother him if he has to go to the ground, and most of the time he's initiating it because he's so good on the ground. But you're seeing
Yeah.
so many different fighters from the UK now. Is wrestling isn't an issue anymore. Okay, yeah, it's obviously going to be better in your country than it is in mine because we don't do it in school. We don't have classes like that. You know, you play football, you play rugby, you play cricket, and now fuck off. Do you know what I mean? That is it. But now it's so different, and this is why it excites me. And you know, the likes of we say about Lexi Walton,
Yeah.
it excites me watching the videos that she's recently posted because you're just seeing a girl that's in a good gym with some good fighters who've already made it to the premier organization, but she's taking it all in, and she's like a sponge. And you know, I'm excited to see her career unfold, and you know, and that's a testament to you again that put her in my eyesight.
Well, she's under Jack Shore and a couple other coaches, and her father, Mark Walton, is a tremendous man in her life. It's her father, but he believes in her, and not only in her, but in her brother Leon. And you know, to have Jack Shore look at you in the regards that he looks at Lexi, he sees what I see. And the thing of it is, it's like I've always been that way. You know, Miranda Maverick and several other fighters. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. But you know, I'm not too keen on bragging. But the thing of it is I've been in this sport for 37 years. If I can't see a fighter that's going to be great, then I don't deserve to be in this sport, man. I believe in fighters so much. I mean, they're who I am. I wouldn't be here without these athletes. But the thing of it is I, as the years go forward, I want to see the UK fighters get more opportunities, not only just for Bellator or PFL or any other organization. I just want to see them get greater opportunities in general. You know, a lot of people said that Bellator fighters couldn't beat up UFC fighters. Well, look at Michael Chandler.
And
I
he's
mean,
proven it.
yeah, I mean, but you know, Chandler explicitly because, I mean, he kicked Tony Ferguson's head to the moon. I mean, I mean,
Listen, mate.
I'm just being realistic, mate. You know, he's come over and he's done quite well. You know, others like Justin Gaethje, who came from the WSOF and you know other promotions. I remember when I shot the first legally sanctioned fight in New York history with the WSOF, and they were telling Justin Gaethje, "Yo, you'll never be anything. You'll never go anywhere." And look where he's at now. Yeah, he did he lose to Charles Oliveira? Yeah, Oliveira is one of the greatest fighters in the world, but you also got to look at the context of the fight. Everybody's head was screw up. Oliveira came in overweight, you know, and to me, if all you do is fight for a living, then you better come in on fucking weight. No excuses, mate. No excuses. I mean, you call yourself a professional, and anybody can go back and say, "Oh, well, the scale was point 0.5 off for all these other fighters."
Yeah.
Well, they went and cut the point 0.5. You know, instead Oliveira loses the world title because he's too much of an ass to go lose point 0.5. I mean, shave your fucking noggin, man. You know, that's point 0.5 right there. You know, do what it at that level you got to do what it takes to succeed at that level. Oliveira is one of the greatest fighters right now in his weight class. But if you're not willing to do what it takes to maintain, then you know I guess you don't really love the sport as much as you say you do. Because I would have done anything and everything to cut that point 0.5, mate.
Yeah, and listen, we spoke about this when it happened. I posted
Yeah,
in your message, didn't I, in your box straight away about it. What I love about Charles Oliveira is, you know, he's had his ups and he's had his downs, but he's progressed so quickly. You know, you take Khabib out of the picture, and I don't think anyone had Charles Oliveira on their lips to be the next champion and be so dominant as he has been in the fights that we've seen as a champion and, you know, as challenging for the title.
yeah.
My worry is in this situation now that we've got, we have to go back to that one Irish man.
Yeah, because that weight class is garbage. I mean, you look at the what he's got to pick from, what Oliveira has to pick from. It's slim pickings. I mean, I think rightfully Connor needs to step up and either come in and shut up Oliveira or get the hell out of the sport, because I'm tired of him whining about the opportunities that he deserves. But, after the leg break with Poirier, you know, he's got a lot of making up to do to the world. He's basically disrespected the world. He's embarrassed the Irish people in a lot of ways. I mean, you go back to when he smacked the old man at the bar. He didn't realize that he was smacking a old man of the mob, and they kind of set him in his place. I thought he was going to be on the right track. Instead, they ended up calling Proper 12 swill, and the whole country of Ireland poured it down the toilet. And people can say, "Well, you're a brown man." My father was born in Dublin. My family still lives there. I mean, I'm just as much Irish as I am a Native American. So I could speak about this because I've worked for this sport my whole life. I loved Connor when I really did. I loved Connor when he backed it up, and it, it, I don't think he has the balls to back it up anymore.
No, I listen. I met him. Oh my god, in Cage Warriors, when he became double champion. I was there. What a what a nice guy. Met him again just after he blew his ACL and he just beat Max Holloway. And look how good Max Holloway's been since that fight. But what I mean, it was in Manchester. We just watched the weigh-ins, and it's raining, and I think now he probably would have walked past me and laughed. But the guys took time and spoke to me, and it was only a couple of minutes, but it's pissing down the rain. So what I mean, you see the different context of a guy that would sit there and stand there in the pouring rain and speak to the guy. If I was in that situation now, would tell me to get lost.
Yeah. I had a phone call, mate. I didn't quite hear the end of the question right there.
I was just saying that because I've met Connor twice in before, obviously where he's at now. That when I met him, he gave me the time of day. I'm just saying, basically now, if I met him now,
Oh yeah.
the same scenario, I'd get a middle finger, wouldn't I, and told to jog on.
Oh, you would. And see, the thing of it is like I said, I loved Connor when he was able to back it up. I hated the talk, but that's what created Connor. He became a multimillionaire on that path, and I don't have a problem uh, when you create greatness for yourself. He came off of welfare and created greatness in the sport, and he proved himself. Do I think the fight with Jose Aldo was one of his best moments in history? Uh, I don't know, man. I don't really want to touch on that fight because I know Jose Aldo quite well, and one punch. I mean, come on, bro. I mean, but we'll call it like it is, and we'll just leave it like that. But I would like to see Connor come back in, and I would like to see him face Charles Oliveira. I think that would be the fight that needs to happen and the world wants to see.
You're not hot on Makachev, Islam Makachev, Khabib's protege. Do you not feel like that could be a dangerous matchup for anyone else in the division, including Charles Oliveira?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it would be a dangerous fight. But the thing of it is, um, I think Connor's going to get first crack at it. I really do.
Money talks in that situation, doesn't it? And Connor does sell, better than anyone else in the UFC. When it comes to his fights. But it's just one of them. I'm with you. Last time we saw Connor, I feel like when he was at his best was Eddie Alvarez when he became double champion in New York.
Yeah.
That was the best Conor McGregor I think we'll ever see, because I can't see him ever coming back to that. How fluid he was in his footwork and his counter punching, even including his wrestling at times when Eddie tried to pour it on him. I just haven't seen that same guy. He fought Floyd Mayweather and was never the same guy since.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, but things are evolving, things are truly changing, and I think we're going to see tremendous fights. I'm glad to see the UK is getting more opportunities with the UFC. Rumor has it that Bellator's been sold by Viacom. I haven't seen it play out yet, but it's kind of weird when you see people like Burt Watson and others kind of transitioning to other promotions and doing other things. It kind of sets the framework for for the thought processes out there. Of course, I'm privy to some information more than others, but at the same time, it's like until it's announced, I really don't know if it's going to happen. Things like this correlate daily, but you know, I just really it's mind blowing to see where Bellator has been, what they've created, and just for them to sell off. I don't know. I don't know if it's really Scott Coker's main focus, but Viacom controls the majority shares of that company, so we'll just have to see where it plays out.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it'd be interesting what they do with the company that buys Bellator and what they do with it, and do they enhance it or do they keep it at the same level? It'd be good if they can enhance it and really give UFC a good push, because I think
Yeah.
these sort of things make fights better and make organizations better when you've got one chasing the pack, haven't you? And they're very close and ratings and buy rates, that it makes the other organization, you know, do better and put on better. And I think it forces sometimes better fights, I guess. I think it helped in the wrestling business. I remember that as a kid. All that helped. It got people tuning in, and I think it can do the same in any sport, really.
Yeah, I think you're right, especially like with what's correlating now with the world and the sport. I'm glad to see it open up after the pandemic. You know, the thing it was is I think it was eloquent that Coach Oyama did from Team Oyama. I can't even speak from Team Oyama. When the pandemic hit, he told the fighters, because of course everybody knows that the UFC went to Dubai, and he told the fighters, you can either be lazy like you have the last few years, or you can take these opportunities and become a greater fighter. You look at Alex Perez, uh, got a world title shot, became the number third ranked fighter in the world. Of course, he had a lesson taught to him after that. He's number five now. He was just recently on my show. The kid's got great talent. The ones that took the opportunities through the pandemic are now shining and showing the sport that they actually deserve to be at the top. And Oyama now has probably he's probably got most of the top 15 ranked fighters in the sport, being he's even got the world champion Carlos Esparza under him. Now, that's one fight I want to clear up, because a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions of that fight. I even did, but I went back and watched. The only one that lost that fight was Thug Rose. They could knock Carlos Esparza all they want, but at the end of the day, she was the one initiating the fight. She was the one trying to do the takedown. She was the one, you know, pushing for something to happen. Thug Rose ran the whole fight. Now, do I think that the story that came out by Strickland played a part in it with Pat Barry and other aspects? That's not for me to decide.
No.
Because in that article was also about Jim West and Aspen Ladd. And that's for the courts to decide. That's for the sport to decide. That's not my thought process. If it comes out that the story from Strickland is true, then it's pretty disgusting.
Doesn't look good though either, does it? You know what I mean? And everyone
Yeah,
remembers Pat Barry. Pat Barry was a really entertaining heavyweight to watch. Again, we can
yeah,
always go back to the Czech Congo fight. I think everyone who probably thinks of Pat Barry immediately thinks of that fight against Czech Congo, because it was an absolute insane fight. But
yeah,
if the rumors are true, because obviously at the moment they're just based on opinions, aren't they? And there's no facts at the moment, as far as I know.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
good.
mean, oh, it's not going to be good if it's true, mate. It's not going to be good. And the sad part about it is I, as far as Jim West and Aspen Ladd, I played a predominant role in MMA Gold, and Andrea KGB Lee's been there. Max Griffin's comes from there. You got Fluffy, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. You got Benito Lopez. You've got a lot of great fighters that come from that area in Northern California, and it would be sad because it would demolish the team. It would demolish the gym, and it would be a major setback for most of these fighters, because they'll be scrambling to find new places to train. And you and I both know that once you lose part of your life like that, it's hard to get that momentum and come back to the sport full throttle.
And it's quite psychological as well, though, isn't it? It's a mental battle as well as it is, a physical battle in that situation too.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm sure a lot of it's playing on their head right now. Aspen Ladd hasn't been doing that great her last few fights. And, it's crazy. I think even Andrea KGB just lost her last fight. You know, it's, see, it's weird for me because I also shot Invicta,
Hmm.
from the beginning. So it's like I got to deal with Leslie Smith, Chris Cyborg, Carmouche, and I mean KGB Lee, and even like the woman who just won the other night, Caitlin Vera. They all came through the ranks at Invicta. So I mean, I was there from Invicta 1 till Invicta 35, I think, 34, 35. And so I got to deal with some of the greatest woman athletes to ever grace the sport. Dana White said no woman would ever fight in the
Yeah.
UFC, and it must be hell eating those words, mate.
And how wrong was he as well? I mean, you can always give credit to Ronda Rousey per se that broke that door down for all the ladies in MMA, but there was still battling out there, and there was so many good fights. That you look at it now. Sometimes the ladies' fights are better than the men's, and that's going in boxing as well, not just mixed martial arts. Um, yeah, he does eat his words for that one, doesn't he? Really, because
Yeah.
some of the ladies' fights we've watched over the years, and that there again, it's such a young division. The three divisions that we have, and probably minus one of them because it doesn't. Oh, sorry, the fourth one, with Amanda Nunes being the champion, but nobody's there because there's no rankings there for her. Cyborg was the only other fighter that was in that division. But obviously, she left to go to Bellator. My worry is, and I don't know if you will agree, is that the rate that UFC are taking off Invicta. Um, and it worries me to think that, is they going to get to a point where they're going to struggle to create fighters or stars because UFC are basically opening up a door and grabbing them all and launching them straight into the UFC.
Yeah, well, it's just already happening. I mean, you know, each promotion is having to regurgitate fighters, and that's one thing that I hate about the sport as it sits. Even it's even transitioning into some of the bare knuckle promotions. Granted, I did help Chris Leben get into bare knuckle fighting championships and other greats, but Chris is my brother. We sponsored him through an apparent company that we have, and I thought bare knuckle would be the next greatest thing, and then you have the death of Justin Thornton, and you have a promotion that's out there that is horrific, but then you have one that's great, and BYB and BKB, that they both conjoined from across the pond to create the world's largest bare knuckle organization. I'll be with them this weekend down in Biloxi, Mississippi. So it's going to be great to be sitting with Paulie Malignaggi, Claudia Trejo, El Bernstein, and Goldberg. It's going to be a monumental moment for me. My voice is so messed up that I don't know if I'm going to sit there and actually speak with them because it it's a struggle to talk right now because of the pharyngeal paralysis. But the thing of it is, just I'm not going to pass up an opportunity because the thing of it is, a lot of people don't realize that I fell in love with bare knuckle when it was truly only in the UK and other places in the world. It wasn't here in the United States. And I mean, I love the thought process of throwing up some hay bales and having two men just go at it, to have a promotion like bare knuckle fighting championships just cancel fighters' pay, cancel their flights, coerce commissions, and I went after Dave Feldman after the Montana card where they suspended 20 fighters right before Thanksgiving and Christmas. And you saw the interview. I tore into Dave Feldman because I'm for the fighters. I believe in the fighters. And I didn't tear into him just for that. It was the death of Justin Thornton. But here goes, it's like it's true what you said that I am black and white because if you watch that interview between me and Dave Feldman in the first 7 minutes, I tell him, I don't fucking like you, and he stayed on my show. And, was I brutal? Yeah. But I got to say it like it is because if I don't, then it's not going to sit well in my heart and I'm not going to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah, but then at the same time as that is done, is not many people are going to do it either. So you have to be the hero, the white knight in this situation, and speak for
Yeah.
people because like I just said, some people probably wouldn't really go to Dave Feldman and actually say what you said. They probably say it behind his back or say it on social media, but to do what we're doing right now and look him in the eyes, yes, okay, it's a camera, but it's as face to face you're gonna get and say what you said. Homage, my friend.
Well, I'll take my lumps for what I got to say. Like I said, I'm not here for the promoters. I'm here for the fighters. I'm here for the people that create the sport, the people that put food on their table, my table, your table. It's about standing up for what's right. It's about the intensive purpose, and if you can't defend what you believe in, then get the fuck out of the business, mate. Get out of the business, and I I'm one that will give everything that I got. A lot of people don't know. I'll tell this really quick story. God, we've been on here for an hour and 5 minutes. It just blows by. But several years back, there was a fighter by the name of Joe Torres, and he got he had it was on New Year's Eve. His sister-in-law was at a party, was saying, my brother-in-law is a MMA fighter. He'll kick your ass and all this was well. She said it's a MS-13, and if people over the pond don't understand who MS-13 is, they're one of the most horrific gangs in not only the country but the world. And so they went to his house. They broke out the window, tried to take his baby through the window. They had cut his power, cut his phone lines, and ultimately kicked in the door. And he had his family behind him. He got the gentleman in a rear naked choke, and he's being stabbed with a crude shank in the dark. Well, another gentleman went in the kitchen and grabbed a knife and came in. Well, ultimately, one of the gentlemen died, and the other was critically injured, and he fell on the ground 7 feet out the door from Joe's house. Well, Joe was ultimately arrested and charged for this, and he reached out to me. And at that time, I was doing a show with Chris Matthews from NBC, and we decided to take the story.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did we get Joe exonerated, but the reason I asked Joe, I said, "Why did you reach out to me?" He said, "Because you're a man that truly helps the fighters." It really wasn't me that got him truly exonerated, because Chris Matthews and NBC have the expertise, the money, and the ability to take it that much further. But I transitioned the story, and because of the belief that the fighters have in me and having their back, I asked him. I said, "Why didn't you go to a major network to begin with?" He says, "Because you're known for being the man that truly cares and helps the fighters." And it was humbling to be able to share. And only a year later, we got him exonerated, completely exonerated. And that's what I love to do for this sport. That's what helps me going, keeps me going. It just, the fulfillment of helping others is why I'm here.
Well, Don, because you've helped me considerably a lot. I feel it's right probably for us to announce something that we've spoken to each other about,
Yeah.
and I feel like we should announce it to people now. We all know that with the people that watch Big Fight Weekly that Stuart's leaving. He's having a baby, and he's going to enjoy his family life, and which we all give credit to. We're both parents here. We've all been through the process of late nights and lack of sleep. And we do wish Stuart well, because Stuart has been a staple of Big
Yeah.
Fight Weekly since I started the show, and it was him that brought me to the table. I wasn't really wanting to do something like this. I was a guy that loved the sport, but didn't really feel like I had a voice, or I didn't know if I could do it. But pushing on, Don, the announcement that obviously I'm going to make here, and obviously yourself, is that you're coming to replace Stuart on Big Fight
Yeah.
Weekly as my mutual co-host.
Yes, sir.
I can't say without words how excited and I'm full of joy I am that you have taken the time to get to know me and have the laughs we have, but to do something that I love, and for you to be a part of it, it's amazing. Like I say, words I can't describe how appreciated I am of you to do this with me, because I don't think I would have carried on the show itself without someone who I feel like I can talk to or correlate with, and we do it really well.
Yeah.
So I've got to thank you very much for being that guy that's gonna be a part of this journey with me.
Well, the honor is all mine, but you already had the ability, you already have the talent, you just had to recognize it, and being able to show you and give you that self-belief is tremendous. Bringing Linton Vassell on, Joe Daddy Stevenson, me jumping in here and there, and and Zach Cummings too. It just, what I saw was a young man that I believed in, and a young man that reminded me of myself. It's just you lack the confidence because you were used to doing a two-man show. I've had that same path in my life. I did shows with other people, and then ultimately I did a show by myself. And it's hard to do a show by yourself, especially on the syndicated side of radio, because I have to write up the link, I have to encrypt it, embed it, blog it, and then I have to get it because my show's in dual syndication. So and also on 27 different other platforms, I'm dual syndication out of the Philippines. So to do all that, it takes 2.5 hours just to write up a show, but it's actually 25 hours total to do a 2-hour show. And people really don't realize how much work goes into real radio. So I'm grateful for the new technology because, like I said, we could do a show from over the pond, but at the same time, I could write a show up in 5 minutes comparative to having to put 25 hours worth of work in to create in one episode. And I used to do, 4 fighters a show, 4 days a week. And there was even, like on my 500th episode many years ago, God, that sounds crazy, many years ago, but I did 6 straight hours with nothing but legends on my show, but I'll be open and honest. See, the thing of it is, a lot of people say, how do you get all these people on your show? Well, I've been in the sport. I've shot them. I know them. They're my brothers. They're my sisters. So it's not hard for me to get a fighter on my show because I've never been egotistical. I've never been big-headed, and I've always been one willing to give and not take. And I see the work that these people put in. So, of course, it's only realistic that they give back to me, and it humbles me because I've never expected anything back from the sport. Even if you go on my page, it says it's never been about me, and that's the truest statement about myself. So it's an honor and a privilege for me to still be able to do my show and have you on my show, but also still be your mutual host on this show. I think it's only going to be a bigger and better opportunity for the fans, for the sport, and for the listeners, because we're creating 2 different shows from 2 different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And, you got to love that, baby. Like my best friend in life and my brother that oh too well as my brother, why be ordinary and be 24/7 when you can be extraordinary and be 25/8 all day, baby? And I like to pride myself on being 25/8. I've been through a lot of illnesses and surgeries this year, and I never, I got knocked down a few times, but I never let it stop me from doing my show. That's how much passion and love I have for what these athletes and what these fans and what the sport brings, because you truly have to love what you do, because it doesn't pay. You saw the interview with 2 of the greatest refs in the world, Jack Reese and Bill Clancy. He said, man, we got in this not getting paid. And I said, bro, we still aren't getting paid. Of course it's a crack, but I mean, the rise and fall of what we got paid as photographers and other people in the sport, that's long gone, because they can pull pictures from videos. They really don't need us anymore. Technology is killing us, but at the same time, I did lay my cameras down in 2021 because my eyesight went to shit, and I still shoot a lot of jiu-jitsu seminars and things of that nature. But I'm still on the active UFC roster as a photographer. I think I'm one of only 2, maybe 3 photographers that are on active payroll status with the UFC. And it's it's heartfelt, man, because to look at where they put me in the top. What was I? 2 spots away from BJ Penn and the most recognized employee of the UFC. It's kind of humbling, and I never looked at anything for promotional or positive gain. I've always just done it for the fighters. It's never been about me. It never will be about me. But I want to come onto the show and make Big Fight Weekly one of the biggest shows in the UK and over here on the side of the pond, and a lot of people say, well, why would you do that when you have your own show? Because you know what? When you bring more people together and you share the love, it creates greatness for both sides. So this is a win-win for me, mate.
It's more than a win for me, mate, considering your stature in this sport, and this show as a whole is just over 12 months old. So it's still in its infancy. You know what I mean? For me to bag someone of your caliber and your history and everything you've been through is it's like scoring a hat trick in the final of a football game. Things like that.
I'll correct you. Let me correct you. You earned it, mate. Because if you didn't have the ability that you have, and I didn't have the belief in you, I wouldn't put my name on your show. I wouldn't. I'm just point blank. There's 100,000 shows out there, 100,000 plus. The only way you're going to go somewhere is to create a different aspect and greater appreciation for the fans and give them the story of the person behind the fighter. Hell, we all know what they do in the cage or the ring or on the mat, but what people don't get to see is the man in the mirror, the person behind the fighter. And that's what our style of interviewing does. And so when you allow somebody that appreciates somebody to see the true man or the true woman behind the warrior, you create greatness. I mean, because you're truly paying homage to the parents, to the path, to them being on bended knee, laying that first stone down on their path to greatness. And that's what our styles do, and we correlate well together. So I want to thank the United Kingdom and all the people of Wales, and especially you, for giving me this opportunity to help grow Big Fight Weekly. And man, I'm truly humbled and honored.
Listen, it's more me than it is you. I'm gonna leave it there because it's getting a bit late for myself.
Yeah.
I'll probably speak to you after this, but I can't thank you enough for doing this because obviously I wanted this was originally what I set out for me to do was to interview you, but obviously things have completely changed and gone different, which is great, and that's even better than what I originally wanted out of speaking to you. But yeah, I'm privileged that you're coming on this show and you're going to be my mutual host going forward. I thank you for everything you have so far given me, and I look forward to what we can do for the Big Fight Weekly and for the future of the show.
Well, most definitely. And I just want to say one thing before I get out of here. Much love to the people of the United Kingdom. And, I got to say one thing, Jack Shore, get ready for a war with my boy, Ricky Simone. I think the world is going to stand up and take heed. And to all UK fighters, take privy and looking at Liam McGeary, Linton Vassell, and Jack Shore, because the new eras, Patty and Meatball, but there's so many great fighters that are coming up. I'm so proud of the UK aspect of the sport because now they're showing the world that they truly deserve the opportunities that they're getting, and they're tremendous athletes and they deserve the credit. So, to all of you over the pond that are doing what you're doing, man, my hat's off to you. Keep thriving and keep enduring the suffering and the pain to get where you're at, because you're proving to the world that you're a dominant force, and that's tremendous to have such high caliber athletes coming out of the UK. It's brilliant.
Nothing but proud. Right, Don. We will sort something out and we
Yeah.
will go forward. Obviously, I've got one more with Stuart to do next week, and then Don, this is mine and your path. Yeah.
Your mic blew my ears out, mate.
Ooh, right. So I'm back on Friday. I've got an interview with Miranda Maverick, and I've got Lexi Walton as my co-host on Friday. So I'll see you all on Friday, and thank you, Don.
Oh, thank you, mate. God bless.
Take it easy.